What does it mean to tempt God? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Deuteronomy on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Deuteronomy chapter 6. We're going to be reading from verses 10 to 19. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Deuteronomy chapter 6, beginning of verse 10. So it shall be, when the Lord your God brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you large and beautiful cities which you did not build, houses full of good things which you did not fill, hewn out wells which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, when you have eaten and are full, then beware lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You shall fear the Lord your God and serve him, and shall take oaths in his name. You shall not go after other gods, the gods of the people who are all around you, for the Lord your God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord your God be aroused against you, and destroy you from the face of the earth. You shall not tempt the Lord your God as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, his testimonies, and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the good land of which the Lord swore to your fathers, to cast out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has spoken. In our last lesson, we learned about how the Lord God is one, meaning that he is the only God of this universe. And since he is, we should love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, and strength. In other words, with every fiber of our being. God must come first in our lives, even above our neighbor and even above ourselves. And such needed to be so with Israel as they entered the promised land. When Israel entered this land and dwelt in cities that they did not build, drank from wells they did not dig, ate from vineyards and olive trees that they did not plant and are full, it might have become easy to forget God, to forget that God was the reason that they received this land in the first place. They were not to do this. They were to remember where they came from, Egyptian bondage, and who led them out, God, by the hand of Moses. Thus they were to fear the Lord their God and serve him and him alone. Their oaths were to be taken in his name, if oaths were taken at all, not in the names of other gods, which are false. If Israel did this, the anger of the Lord would be furious, and he would destroy them from the face of the earth, just as we have discussed in previous lessons. If this admonition in Deuteronomy 6:13 sounds familiar, we have studied it before, when we studied the temptations of Jesus in Matthew chapter 4. Let's reread Matthew chapter 4, beginning at verse 8. Again the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their glory. And he said to him, All these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, Away with you, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only will you serve. In that passage, Jesus was being tempted by the devil with something Jesus wanted, the nations of the world to serve him. Jesus was God. He deserved such worship. The devil falsely claimed to be able to accomplish this if only Jesus would bow down and worship him. Think about it. God being asked to worship the devil, a created being. Jesus quoted Deuteronomy 6:13 there, telling the devil that man was to worship God and God alone. And that's exactly what Moses is teaching in this passage. Don't worship anything else. God is the only one to be worshipped. Coming back to Deuteronomy 6, in verse 16, after warning Israel of the punishment they would face if they went after other gods, Moses told Israel not to tempt the Lord their God. This means that Israel wasn't to put God to the test to see if he would fulfill his promises. Israel did this at Massah when they complained for water. Why was this complaint testing God? Because God had led them out of Egypt and then told them he would be bringing them to Canaan. Was he really going to allow them to die of thirst in the wilderness? The answer is no. So too with the promises to Israel here in Deuteronomy 6. Israel wasn't to test to see if God would keep his promises of punishment here by actually going after other gods. They were to diligently keep the commandments of the Lord, his testimonies, and his statutes. They were to do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, so all may go well with them. So in sum total, Moses was telling Israel, stop complaining. Start trusting in God to do what he said. Don't put God to the test to see if God is faithful. He is, and that's all there is to it. If verse 16 sounds familiar, again it should, for that too is the response by Jesus when being tempted of the devil in Matthew 4. Let's reread Matthew 4, verses 5 to 7. Then the devil took him up into the holy city, set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, He shall give his angels charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, It is written again, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. In this temptation, the devil correctly quoted Psalms 91, 11, and 12, and he correctly applied it as meaning that God would protect the Messiah, whom Jesus was. However, what made this a temptation was that the devil wanted Jesus to see if God would keep his promise by jumping off the pinnacle of the temple. He wanted Jesus to test God's faithfulness. Jesus would not do so, citing Deuteronomy 6:16. Today, God has promised things to the Christian, such as a way of escape from temptation. Let's not take this promise and intentionally place ourselves in the way of temptation to see if God will provide us that way, though. Temptation will find us all on its own. Let's not seek it out. Let's not tempt the Lord our God, but simply follow what he says and trust in him completely. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 20 to 25, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.